Which really leads into the next big struggle, right? Coming home.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge part of the story. Frankie returns. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going into a really compelling area, the experiences of women who served as nurses during the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and we're largely drawing from Kristin Hanna's novel, The Women. It offers such a personal and often overlooked perspective on that whole period.
Exactly. It uses fiction, but it feels so grounded in, the likely realities. It gives a voice to experiences that aren't always centered in historical accounts.
And using a novel like this, it lets us explore the emotional side, the psychological impact, in a way that maybe traditional histories don't always capture. It's a different kind of truth, you could say.
Definitely. And our main character, our guide, is Frankie McGrath. She starts off, pretty privileged. Young woman, California family.
Right. Sort of sheltered, you imagine?
Very much so. But then her brother, Finley, gets deployed to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And then he dies. That loss becomes this huge motivator for her.
So she enlists, despite her background.
Yeah, she enlists as an army nurse, ends up doing 2 tours in Vietnam. It's a massive shift from her life before.
Wow. I mean, that jump from, sunny California to a surgical unit in Vietnam. What does the book tell us about that initial shock, the reality, versus maybe her naive expectations?
Oh, it hits hard. The novel is very clear about the brutality, the sheer volume of casualties, the types of injuries. It's relentless. Death is just constantly present.
A world away from anything she could have known.
Completely. Any romantic notions about serving are just stripped away, faced with the raw cost of war every single day. But interestingly, it also highlights the bonds she forms.
With other nurses.
Yes, particularly Barb and Ethel. These relationships, this sisterhood, it becomes absolutely vital. It's their support system.
That makes sense. In that kind of intense shared trauma, those connections must be incredibly strong. Maybe the only people who could truly understand what they were going through.
Exactly. And it wasn't just the work. The war impacted, personal lives too. The book touches on relationships Frankie has.
Oh, like romantic relationships.
Yeah. There's Jamie. He's a doctor she meets who's been injured. And then Rye, a Navy pilot who's, presumed dead for a while, and has his own complicated life.
So it shows how war just weaves into everything. Love, loss, hope. It complicates it all.
Absolutely. It adds layers of uncertainty and potential heartbreak on top of everything else they're dealing with.
Which really leads into the next big struggle, right? Coming home.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge part of the story. Frankie returns to the U.S., and it's not the welcome she might have expected. She's dealing with immense challenges.
Like PTSD and maybe other issues.
Definitely PTSD, though maybe not always called that then. Also addiction struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And just this profound sense of rejection from society. People didn't know what to do with female veterans.
That's a critical point the book makes, isn't it? How these women were often overlooked, almost invisible when they came back.
Totally invisible. Their service wasn't acknowledged in the same way as the men's. There was stigma, misunderstanding, like they weren't supposed to have been there or seen what they saw. It was another battle entirely.
Yeah. It really speaks to the rigid gender roles of the time and how society just couldn't or wouldn't fit their experiences into the accepted narrative of war.
Yeah. But Frankie's story isn't just about the struggle, which is important. It's also about resilience. She fights back.
How so? What does she do?
Eventually, she helps create a place called The Last Best Place. It's envisioned as a kind of sanctuary, a refuge specifically for women veterans.
So building a community, finding healing together.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming identity, finding purpose, and creating that space for shared understanding that was missing when they first came home. A powerful symbol.
It really is. So if we zoom out, looking at Frankie's whole journey in The Women, what are the main takeaways for you? What should we really understand from this?
Well, for me, it's the quiet courage, not just battlefield heroics, but the daily grind of nursing in those conditions, the compassion amidst horror.
I agree. And the sheer emotional and physical toll it took, specifically on these nurses. It wasn't abstract. It was real, lasting trauma.
And the friendships.
Yeah.
How vital that support network was.
Absolutely. That sisterhood was crucial. And maybe the biggest point is the fight for recognition, highlighting how these women veterans had to struggle just to have their service, their sacrifices seen and understood.
Right. The women give such a necessary perspective, filling a gap in how we often remember the Vietnam War. It focuses on experiences that were, largely left out of the main story.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on.
Okay.
How does our whole picture of war, what courage looks like, what sacrifice means, the long-term costs, how might that change if we consistently included diverse experiences like Frankie's, like these nurses?
Thinking about those hidden battles, especially for women veterans, after the war is officially over.
Exactly. What does it mean to truly see and acknowledge all the stories, not just the ones we're used to hearing?
Grab the Women by Kristin Hanna, now on sale for $24. Don't miss this chance to build good habit and achieve remarkable results. Buy now, today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.